So Newmont of the United States was mining there. Goldfields of South Africa was mining there. But when the copper price went down, they closed these mines. Now, Copper 360, which is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, moved in and this week produced the first ore from the Rietberg mine. And they've got 11 other mines like this that they're going to open. So this is going to be fantastic for South Africa. The grade there is unsurpassed. And what they're saying is that maybe it isn't the biggest volume in the world, but it's the biggest value. They're talking about a 55% profit margin. Of course, they're using existing infrastructure, so it helps them a lot. But it is a great thing for South Africa at a time when copper is very important because the world is electrifying and the demand for copper is going to soar. All the outlooks are that it's going to be so big. And now we can get going again in copper in the Northern Cape. And what they're saying is that they are planning not just to export the concentrate. They want to export beneficiated product. Now, that's a word that South Africans love, where you add value to the copper. They're talking about, in 3 years, looking at producing copper wire and copper pipe. So that will be fantastic. And they've also got a copper school going there, and the skills coming out of there are fantastic.
Martin, the high gold price has resulted in the latest dividend payouts to shareholders soaring by more than 400%.
You know, often when the gold price goes up, people get a bit lax and they don't go for productivity anymore and they don't go for cutting costs. But Anglo Gold Ashanti is the exception. They have been moving in there, trying to reduce costs, not looking at the price. And now you saw in their half-year results, the dividend that they announced was 400% higher. The cash flow reversed from an outflow of 200 million to an inflow of $200 million. So it's so important that when you get into this mining space, you look at what you can control, never mind the price. And then when the price goes up, you have massive bonuses, as we're seeing from Anglo Gold Ashanti.
And finally, Martin, South Africa's ferrochrome was highlighted this week as being a key alloy in the decarbonization of the world.
Yes, you know, we've never thought of ferrochrome as being a decarbonized metal. But Glencore, which produces it, spelled out this week that it is decarbonizing because it is the ingredient in stainless steel. And stainless steel lasts so much longer than steel. So when you're producing it, you don't have to burn all that coal as regularly. So it is seen now as a decarbonized steel, which is very important because South Africa is very close to ferrochrome. It goes into that stainless steel, not so much in South Africa, but in the world. And this will be a big plus for it. And at the same time, Glencore are putting up renewable energy into the system so that will make it even greener once they're producing the ferrochrome with the solar power and the wind power that they're signing up. It will make it a green metal.
Well, Martin, thank you so much. Martin Creamer will be back with another edition of At the Coalface, same time next Friday. And from us, it's also our time done. We'll be back with you next week. But over the weekend, please be safe, please take care. And of course, I'm not leaving you alone. Eva Chipa is here to bring you up to speed with the latest news.
Thanks, Sakina. Top stories for this hour. Ramaphosa speaks at the official National Women's Day celebrations and government experiences a shortage of ambulances. Good afternoon. I'm Eva Chipa. President Cyril Ramaphosa says he wants 40% of government's procurement to go to women-owned businesses. Speaking at the official National Women's Day celebration at Pof Adder in the Northern Cape, Ramaphosa says the Women's Economic Assembly was launched to identify procurement opportunities for women in different industries.
Through the Women's Economic Empowerment Program, approximately 8,000 women have been trained to establish and manage their own businesses with funding from government and development finance institutions. I did say that I would like 40% of government procurement to go to women-owned and controlled businesses.
Disaster management teams on the West Coast say cleaning up operations are underway at Riverlands and Malmesbury following the collapse of 2 dam walls yesterday. Damages have left residents with no electricity and water and some displaced from their homes. Disaster management head Henrik Robinson says teams of specialists are conducting assessments to ensure that there are no further risks.
Today, humanitarian relief to those affected community members will continue in 2 municipal facilities in the town, while the water levels in the existing dams surrounding the Riverlands area are being lowered and the water is being released using engineering methods to make sure that the dams does not pose a further risk to the community of Riverlands.
Limpopo police say they have intercepted the smuggling of a 4 million rand vehicle into Zimbabwe. The vehicle, believed to belong to a member of parliament, was allegedly stolen from the parking lot of a mall in Pretoria yesterday. Police spokesperson Malisela Letwaba says the vehicle was traced and found in Lebakgomo outside Polokwane.
Reports suggest that the vehicle was stolen on Thursday, 7th August 2024 at a parking lot in Mainland Mall, Pretoria, and was on its way to Zimbabwe when the suspect was apprehended later in the evening in Lebakgomo policing area outside Polokwane. The Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Thembi Hadebe, emphasized the importance of collaborative efforts in combating crime and ensuring that such organized crimes are resolved promptly. The suspect is currently in custody and further investigations are underway.
In other news, government has admitted there is a severe shortage of ambulances across the country for the rendering public health services at various hospitals. As of last month, there are just over 4,200 public sector ambulances. Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, in a written parliamentary reply to a question posed by the EFF, admitted there is a shortfall to the tune of nearly 2,000 vehicles. He says the current ratio being used as a guideline nationally and in all provinces is 1 ambulance per 10,000 people. Spokesperson for the Department of Health, Foster Mohale.
The Department of Health is aware of the shortage of ambulances in the country, and we are working closely with provinces to address this issue through several interventions, including allocating sufficient budget to enable provinces to procure additional ambulances. Secondly, for provinces to enter into agreements with private emergency medical services on a rotational basis in order to complement the government on an urgent cases, and this is subject to budget availability.
Now, in light of the Women's Day long weekend, the N3 toll route says traffic volumes along the route increased from yesterday into today. Chief Operating Officer at the N3 toll concession, Tanya Dugra, says over the next 3 days, the route is expected to carry higher than usual traffic volumes, including freight, public transport vehicles and leisure travellers.
Toll plazas on the N3 toll route will all be fully manned with convenient payment options such as tap-and-go credit card payments and tag payments available to improve transit at the toll plazas. Law enforcement and N3 GC route services will be on high alert all along the N3 toll route between Sadara in KwaZulu-Natal and Heidelberg in Gauteng.
And lastly, looking further afield, Russia says Ukraine has carried out a big drone attack in the Lipsk region of 300 kilometers from the border. It lies in the northeast of the Kursk region, where Ukrainians are carrying out an incursion. The BBC's Ali McConnell reports.
The regional governor said Lipetsk had been subject to what he called a massive UAV attack. The target appears to have been a military airfield. Images posted online show a huge fire. The governor, Igor Artamonov, declared a state of emergency because of the danger posed by explosions and ordered the evacuation of 4 settlements near the site. The Defence Ministry in Moscow claims to have intercepted and destroyed 75 drones overnight over several Russian regions, as well as Crimea and the Black Sea, but this cannot be verified. Meanwhile, Ukraine's cross-border ground incursion into the Kursk region appears to be continuing.
Recapping the top story for this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa says he wants 40% of government's procurement to go to women-owned businesses. Greg House will have more news for you from 2 o'clock. Voice FM News, good afternoon. I'm Eva Chipa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN8 quarter-final. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hi, my name is Kamogelo and I'm a lifesaver. Through a chance encounter with the DKMS Africa team at a nearby mall, I decided to register to become a stem cell donor and potentially give someone else a second chance at life. Every life is precious, and after I was made aware that I could give someone else a second chance at life, all it took to register was 3 swabs, a quick and easy process. You too could be a potential lifesaver in the making. Register to become a stem cell donor at dkmsafrica.org.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
The Olympic medalist, Tatiana Smith, representing South Africa.
Tears of joy will certainly flow for Tatiana Smith.
Smith, silver.
I think this one is much different than any of my races. I'm so fortunate to get a medal.
For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Skies could fall, not even if my boss should call. The world it seems so very small, 'cause nothing even matters at all. Seem nothing even matters. Seem nothing even matters at all. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters at all.
Your love makes me feel 10 feet tall. Without it, I go through withdrawal. 'Cause nothing even matters at all. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters at all. Nothing even matters. Nothing
These
matters.
buildings could drift out to sea. Some natural catastrophe. Still there's no place I'd rather be. 'Cause nothing even matters to me. See, nothing even matters. See, nothing even matters to me. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters.
You're my identity. I sometimes have a tendency to look at you religiously, baby. 'Cause nothing even matters to me. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters to me. Said it don't, baby, baby.
Now you won't find me at no store. I had no time for manicures. With you it's never either or. 'Cause nothing even matters no more. See, nothing, it don't matter. See, nothing even matters no more. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters no
Now
more.
my team will score and make it to the final four. Just repossess my phone. 'Cause nothing even matters no more. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Nothing even matters. Oh, oh, oh.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
Nothing seems complete. I stand up and I'm searching for the better part of me. I hang my head from sorrow. So much state of humanity. So wearing on my shoulders, gotta find strength in me. Why's that? 'Cause I am a superwoman. Yes, I am. Yes, she is. Still when I'm a mess, I still put on a vest with an S so much as, oh yes, I'm a superwoman. That's right. This is for all the mothers fighting, for better days to come. They coming. And all my women sitting here trying to come home before the sun. And all my sisters coming together, say yes I will, yes I can. Why's that? 'Cause I am a superwoman. Yes I am. Sing it out, man. Yes she is. Still when I'm a mess, still put on a vest with an
It is Alicia Keys coming through. Superwoman, of course. It is Women's Day today, and we're celebrating all things phenomenally woman on the show. I hope that you are enjoying the long weekend, courtesy of the South African women of all ages who today get to be celebrated, get to be honored, and just a poignant reminder also of the contributions of women in society, in politics, in business, in all the arenas in which they play. We've got a jam-packed show today, contrary to popular belief and to my sign-off yesterday when I said that because it is a public holiday, we're going to take it nice and easy. And it turned out that, the all-woman-led team that I work with here decided that, well, if we have to come to work today, we might as well do exactly that. We might as well work. And so we've got a jam-packed show. We're going to be reflecting on the role of women in South African politics, a legacy of resilience and progress. And we're going to be catching up with a few women in this regard. And then we also, hopefully, we're going to manage to secure good network with the First Lady of the Nkabi Nation, Ulwandle Nkulu, is going to be joining us on the show. And she's releasing the deluxe album, Imizwa, today, in fact. We're going to find out more from her. We managed to slip in one gentleman. We had to have some kind of texture on the show before we are accused of bias because it's an all-female show. So we managed to sneak in one gentleman today, and we're going to be unpacking a research study that has named the best countries to travel to if you've got children. So there's been a research study that has named the best countries to travel to if you've got children, and we'll see what those countries are and what makes them the best, what kind of criteria they check for families. And then, of course, on the other side of two as well, the conversation still continues with young black women carving out solid careers in the world of arts. And we'll engage that conversation on the other side of two. It's 1:20. Our lines are open. If you do want to send a happy Women's Day message to a woman who you love and care for dearly, it could be your sister, it could be your mother, your partner, your business partner, your children's mother, whomever is a woman in your life that you care dearly for and want to celebrate and honor today, you're more than welcome to send us a voice note on 061-410-4107. Let's take a quick break.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Chamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
Alan Hatherley of South Africa as he steps up to receive the bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. He is the first South African medal in cycling since 1912. Rudolf Lewis won the individual time trial. Congratulations, Alan Hatherley. Your country is proud of you.
For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
What advice then would you give the school, and what advice would you give the country in whether it's dealing stroke healing this issue of racism, particularly in school?
Oh, very, very easy for the school, which is use this as an opportunity to address the issue more broadly. Don't try and hide the story. Put it out there, have workshops, speak in assemblies, call the parents, but use this as an opportunity to reclaim decency in the school, to say what is wrong and what you stand for.
Jonathan Jansen, a Prof of Education at the University of Stellenbosch.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, leading the conversation on this fine Friday afternoon. Hope you are enjoying your day of relaxation. It is Women's Day today, honouring, of course, the contributions of those phenomenal women in 1956 who did the absolute best for the liberation of South Africa, but also honouring the unsung heroes of our history. We're going to be in conversation now for the first portion of the show with Tsehofatso Megan Chauke Adonis, who's the member of the National Assembly. And of course, Tsehofatso is also visually impaired and sits in the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. And joining me in studio as well is former Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu. Last time we caught up was in Soweto on Family Day. And today we're here to reflect on the role of women in not only in South African politics, but in South African society at large, and obviously the contribution of women to social development and just the advancement of women's issues. So let me start by saying hello to you firstly, because you are on the phone. How are you doing on this fine Women's Day?
I am well, thank you, my queen. I hope you are doing well, and all your wonderful listeners are also having a beautiful Women's Day.
Listen, funny enough, when you're in broadcasting as a female on Women's Day, you're always working. Always
yes,
working.
It's called women empowerment.
Right? Yeah, it is the right we fought for, to be able to decline or accept the invitation to work. I thank you for taking the time to be in conversation with us. And of course, former minister is also here, Lindiwe Zulu. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It's my daughter's birthday today. So
is it?
I'm on high.
Oh, lovely. How old is she turning?
Do I know?
Your
She's
daughter,
40,
the fashion
whatever.
designer.
The fashion designer.
Lovely.
Yes. Yeah.
We might have her on the show actually one day.
Yeah.
Let's have this conversation with, we've got intergenerational women joining us, and let's start maybe by reflecting. Let's start, let's be good Africans and start with, I don't want to say our elders, because she's not really that much older than us, but let's start with this Sumdal.
I'm your mom. I'm a grandmother of 8 children. So.
Let's start with Lindiwe and just reflect back on the role of women, in South African politics, but also just within the context of social South Africa.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Bridget. I was listening to the president this afternoon in the celebration. He is out in the Northern Cape. And I think the issues that he raised about society appreciating the role of women in building communities, in assisting communities to really appreciate themselves as communities. He asked us also to take stock, actually, of what has happened in the 30 years of democracy. And I think before we can even talk about the 30 years of democracy, because I'm a member of the African National Congress and a member of the Women's League, I can trace it back to the fact that women, even in the African National Congress at its formation, women were not allowed to be members of not allowed, but they were not, it wasn't just accepted that women would participate. So women had to stand up and fight for themselves and say, we want to be part and parcel of the liberation liberation struggle because we have something to give even in the liberation struggle. Later on, women were then allowed to even be members of the National Executive Committee much, much later. So when you look at it from that angle, I don't want to go back into the earlier days of colonial wars and all, but I'm just taking it from the formation of the African National Congress, and I'm spreading that not only to the ANC, but to all other organizations that existed. Women were not participating as full members of those different organizations. Fast forward from then, from the Women's March, from the 1913 marches, and from everything that women did from then until 1994. When the dawn of democracy came. So women have participated, but they pushed to participate. They were not just openly accepted to participate. It still continues even today. The struggle about women's emancipation, women empowerment, and all forms of empowering women, the struggle is still continuing. I think that we must accept that and stand up to it.
From your perspective, Tsegofatso, being of a different generation, when you reflect on the role of women in South Africa?
You know what, as one reflects on the role of women, and myself being a young African woman and with a disability, you look at the significant milestones and the gains of democracy and the role that has been played by women. You know, those who came before us, like Umam Lindiwe as well, Charlotte Maxeke, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, those who have come before us, they've really paved the way in order for me, myself, as a young African woman, to really play an active role. But also we need to understand that as we play this active role and they've handed over the baton, we must be able to harness and groom the legacy that they've left over to us, so that even future generations that are to come, they must embrace this diversity. They must be able to participate politically in the economy and society. You know, the world is evolving, and as it evolves, we look back at what has been contributed by women and how they fought and how they continue to fight for democracy and for liberation. And therefore, it is our responsibility, myself as a young person and other young people, young women and those who are to come after us, to say this democracy does not belong to an individual, but belongs to each and every single one of us collectively. And we must understand that, you know what, as a woman, we've got that responsibility of re aga motse, ba re mosadi o aga motse. And therefore, even from a young age, that is the responsibility that is given to us as women, and therefore we must make sure that we protect the women, so that when they are raising young men, they are raising responsible young men, active citizens, and we must ensure that the opportunities are enhanced and created in order for women to thrive, but also to play a critical role in the gains of this democracy and protecting it holistically. So I think young people, we are seeing more and more now where young people or young women are really understanding what history has laid out for them, what the women of Mam Lindiwe have done, and what it is that we need to step into and take our active role as citizens and contribute towards seeing this South Africa grow into what our predecessors wanted it to be.
And, just touching on sort of the struggles of women and the emancipation of women, if we're rewinding it back to that pivotal moment in 1956, right, to that very important march that was led by the Federation of South African Women, and that document that they called What Women Demand, which spoke to specific needs of childcare provision, housing, education, equal pay, equal rights. Those are still very much the themes that women of your generation, Tsegofatso, are still grappling with today.
Yes. I think, you know what, when we look at the legislative frameworks and the policies that have been legislated since the dawn of democracy, I think it's one of the things that we need to really reprioritize, even ourselves as the African National Congress, as public representative, is the successful implementation. We do know that we've got policies, some of the best in the world. Our constitution is recognized as the best constitution in the world. But I think where we need to reprioritize our efforts and energies is on the successful implementation of the policies that protect children, that protect women, that protect the most vulnerable in our society. And we can only do that by having active citizenship, right? Citizenry, by ensuring that self-representation of all of these strategic groups is in place, by ensuring that women with disabilities, young women, they are participating in the political landscape of South Africa, but also not just contributing as bench warmers, but they are in the executive or decision-making structures. Because in order for us actually to achieve equality, it means everyone must be sitting on the table and must have an input. So if we do create those conducive environments, then our policies and legislative frameworks will be successfully implemented. But it also requires individual members of society to be brought on board and be taken into confidence, for them to understand the role that they play in ensuring that even our politicians, our public representatives, our executives, how it is that they are also playing an active role in ensuring that they are able to meet the demands and service them better to enhance their lives as the most vulnerable in our communities. So each and every single individual needs to rise and understand that we need to act as active citizens, not passive passengers in this democracy.
Sis Lindiwe, your sentiment?
Yeah, I like what she says, women not being there to just warm the benches. I've been there, and I can tell you, I wasn't there to warm no bench. I was there to make sure that issues that are related to the empowerment of women are always on the agenda, both in terms of legislation, as Tsegofaso has clearly said, but also with regard to the cabinet, because when she speaks about ensuring that there's implementation, you can pass as much legislation as you want, but if you're not going to ensure that there are programs that speak to the issues of women, if you're not going to have programs that do not speak to women with disability, that do not speak to women women who have got children, for instance, teenage pregnancies and all that, if you're not going to pass legislation that is, if you're not going to put programs that respond to the health, to the education, to economic empowerment, to every aspect of growth for women, then you are a waste. But I think that what is important, as Tsegofaso says, it's about the implementation. Without the budget, even the implementation won't work. In the olden days, I'm hoping that the women who are in parliament now we'll be able to go back and look at what happened to programs that were gender-biased budgeting, for instance. During our time at the beginning of 1994, we fought for this. I mean, look, we even fought for things like having a crèche at the working place where women are. I was in the legislature as a deputy speaker. We had a daycare center for children, but it became also very difficult because you're a woman, you know that you've got your child at the workplace and all that, and then you have to pay attention, and also that collapsed in a way, but that doesn't mean that women don't need it. I have confidence in the women that are in parliament. I have confidence in different kind of women in NGOs, in NPOs and all that. I have complete confidence because I've been in the journey of the 30 years. If I compare where we were in 1994 at the beginning, where the issue of exploitation of women, the triple oppression of women, because we are black, because we are a woman, and as a worker you were exploited. If I look at all that period from then now, I can tell you there is a lot of progress that has been made, particularly by the government of the African National Congress in passing the right legislation. However, as the president clearly noted today, we still have the issues of unemployment, inequality, poverty. He actually said the face of poverty is that of a black woman. But most importantly, we are also facing the biggest problem, which is a pandemic, as the president said. It is the gender-based violence, which doesn't seem to want to leave this country.
Absolutely. And I mean, and you'll bring up, as we reflect on, the role of women in South Africa across the various spaces that they inhibit. I think what I hear from both of you ladies saying is the sense that the time for talk shopping is far behind us now. The next 30 becomes about how do we now tangibly realize and sustain all that we've been arguing for, all that has been fought for, all that has been brought to the table. And I think, just obviously in your next chapter, Sis Lindiwe, as we eagerly await the next chapter, this was part of your preserve for the last 10 years, as this was part of the portfolios you've occupied. How do we now put real, tangible plans of action into the next 30? Because I feel like this is also where a lot of people will have some kind of contention, right, with the government of the day, is how do we stop talking and now start implementing in a way that is impactful and sustainable? And in this case, in a way that advances all of the programs that we've isolated and articulated that concern women.
Well, my first 5 years were in the Department of Small Business Development, and I think that still remains one of the most important departments in as far as economic empowerment of women is concerned. I experienced that a lot of the informal businesses across the country, it was women who were selling your basics, magwinya, this and that, on the streets. And my focus at the time, which continued fortunately because the following ministers, 2 ministers, they picked up on that, was the support for small and medium enterprises, but most importantly also for support for cooperatives. This is the crux of the matter. Women have a capacity of standing up and wanting to do something for themselves because they're thinking of their families, thinking of taking care of their families, but usually the environment is not created to be conducive for them to do so. And that starts with just work. They are expected to, at home, be the one that does the cooking, the cleaning, the everything, and yet at the same time, they are expected to go out and find the money. Yeah. Many of them, by the way, are single parents today, which is very unfortunate, and it's one of the things that this country has to deal with. Where are the fathers of all these children, leaving women to take care of children? Then my next 5 was in the Department of Social Development, which I enjoyed absolutely, because I felt that social development is the main department that deals with the needs, your most basic needs of our communities. But that cannot happen working alone. Yeah. You need health, you need education, you need economic development from local, provincial and national. You need to create a conducive environment for women to be able to assist themselves. And I think that we now have a government of national unity. I'm hoping that this government of national unity is not going to be bickering about political issues and be focused. When they agree as cabinet, these are the things that we're going to do. No one's going to go on their own way to try and show the other to be better than the other. This is where the women are going to be calling for government of national unity to work together with communities. By the way, I also want to say my experience in government also said to me, it cannot be government's responsibility alone. The private sector must step up, women must get the jobs, and they must be paid the right amount for the jobs that they do. So overall, I think 30 years of democracy, with us trying to make sure that we have a country that is democratic, non-racial, non-sexist. This is a base. And I say this is a base because then we might end up bashing ourselves so much and behave like as if nothing has happened. I was saying this morning, by the way, when I went to give birth to my second daughter, I walked for 3 kilometers. Walked, literally, in the night. And imagine what would have happened in the walking. And I was accompanied by my brother. But 40-something years later and 30 years of that in our new democracy, there is a big change that has happened. But we must not be happy with the fact that I say I walked, now people can get into a car. We need much more than that. This government of national unity, I think the African National Congress, in fact, in our last meeting, we were already talking about what the next 30 years of South Africa should look like. Women must not be left behind in saying in the next 30 years, we we want to see more engineers, more pilots, more social workers, by the way. We want to see women being able to do what they want to do because they are capable of doing it and the environment is created for them. I salute the women who are scientists today, who are pilots today, who are engineers today. And I can tell you, among the black women in particular, it was never easy for them to get there because the engineering and everything was not done when they were 5 years old. Today, our 5-year-olds are taught something that we would have never thought of.
Absolutely. And the unfortunate part is, as you share your just a glimpse into your personal life, is that we saw the stories of women in the Eastern Cape who still in 2024 are experiencing that, having to walk for kilometers to give birth because of lack of service, lack of infrastructure. And we hope, and as you say, that in going forward in this GNU, that all those areas of priority for our communities, our collective communities, are addressed with the utmost urgency. Tshego Fatso, in our last few moments, you literally put the rubber to the tar, as they say to us all, and you say that we cannot be passive citizens. And that speaks a lot to us taking responsibility as well as South Africans. Because the sentiment of democracy, this constitution is an active document. It's not one that just sits there in some ideal corner in a library.
That is correct. I think we must promote active citizenry, which is very important because we must understand that this democracy belongs to each and every single one of us who are South African citizens, and we must protect the gains of democracy. And through the African National Congress-led government, so much has been achieved, but we also acknowledge some of our deficiencies and where there needs to be improvement. And as Umam Lindiwe has indicated, we are reviewing to say the next 30 years, these are the outcomes. This is what we want South Africa to look like. This is how we want to change the lives and impact the lives of all South Africans. But also, how do we ensure that the most vulnerable and those who are previously disadvantaged are really gaining and benefiting from this democracy, making sure that every single woman in their diversity is really benefiting from our democracy. But also, how do we ensure that they're empowered? Because we must remember that our constitution speaks about equality. It speaks about the right to dignity. But if we do not put this to action, then it means it is, a document that is gathering dust. And this document is a very crucial document that is internationally recognized and we appreciate. And therefore, we must have it realize its full potential. And each and every single person, women, youth, persons with disabilities, must really enjoy the fruits of the labors of Umam Lindiwe, Umam Charlotte Matleke, Umam Winnie Mandela, and those who have come after Umam Nomvula Mkonyane, those who have come. And then you also look at the young women who have come after them, such as Nompendulo Mkhatshwa, you look at Fasiya Hassan. These are some of the young women who have really played an active role and have taken on the baton and say, you know what, our predecessors have come. They have paved the way, and therefore we must continue so that those who come behind us have a clear path. But also we must remember when we say a luta continua, that a luta continua for future generations, they must look back and it must be something that is written in history, because it means the world would have evolved and we would have worked very hard for them to come into a world that says she is ready, she is ours, and this world was designed for her. So this world needs to be inclusive. South Africa needs to be inclusive. We need to protect the gains of democracy. We need to appreciate diversity, but also we must accelerate transformation, and transformation must be realized throughout all pillars of society. And it's so beautiful to see, the three spheres of governance working collectively together to ensure that we're enhancing the lives of South Africans. But we must make sure that we go on the ground, we hit the ground running, and really address the challenges that are faced by millions of South Africans. Because where we are today, we shall never be here again in 5 years' time. We must see change. We must see dignity restored in the lives of our people. We must see hope. We must see, that vibrant South African spirit reignited. And that's exactly what we're aiming to do. And we're looking to make sure that the most vulnerable are protected through and throughout. And that is why we are saying that we are active citizens and we are servants of the people.
Tshego Fatso, I will release you at this point. That was Tshego Fatso Megan Chauke Adonis, member of the National Assembly, and she sits on the Portfolio Committee on women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Literally my last minute, Minister, and I know, look at me, still calling you Minister. Will that be for your forever title?
You have to wean yourself out of that. Many people have, yes.
Right? Okay,
yes.
I'll wean myself out of it. But for our last minute, Sislindi, literally our last minute, just your passing remarks of South African women today.
Yes. Firstly, I'd like to thank all women who are in this building where we are today. I've seen that there's more women behind the microphones now in comparison, but most excitedly for me as a journalist, I've seen women behind the cameras.
Yes.
And that, I think, is some of the progress that we're making. I'd also like to thank the women who are police women in very difficult situations right now with the violence and everything. I want to thank the nurses, thank the social workers, thank all women who are working today, starting with yourself, because here you are at work. But most importantly, I'd like to thank the African National Congress Women's League, and all the women that have actually put the agenda of women on the agenda of our democracy at all times and consistently. And I think that the young women who are in parliament, I'm saying to them, viva to them, they must unite, because we must not create this gap. There are days when I feel like there's a gap between the older generation and the new generation. We can't afford that, because we are faced with something called patriarchy, something called violence and all. But as I bow out, I'd like to say happy birthday to my daughter, Pindile.
Yes. Happy birthday to you, Pindile. Listen, your mom is a politician who understands when we say a minute, and she gets it in a minute. Happy birthday to you, and I hope that you guys go off and celebrate for the rest of the afternoon. That was former Minister of Social Development, Sislindi Zulu, joining us in studio. It's 10 to 2 o'clock. It's time for us to get into Nalibali, which will take us to the top of the hour. And then Eva Chipa is coming through with the 2 o'clock news.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's the Tastemaster Junior. Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2. SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
The Olympic medalist, Tatiana Smith, representing South Africa.
Tears of joy will certainly flow for Tatiana Smith.
Smith, silver.
I think this one is much different than any of my races. I'm so fortunate to get a medal.
For the love of the game.
SA Women's Struggles Journal. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development. On this Women's Day, SAFM celebrates the incredible strength, wisdom, and achievements of women everywhere. To all the amazing women, thank you for your endless contributions and inspiration. Happy Women's Day. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Witness the global battle of great athletes from South Africa and from all over the world in the Olympic Games Paris 2024. From the heart-pounding races on the track to the graceful routines on the gymnastics floor, each event promises to deliver moments of sheer brilliance and sporting excellence. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks, and record-breaking performances right here across all SABC TV channels, SABC radio stations, on the move with SABC Plus, or online on sabcsport.com. Hashtag the global battle of great athletes. The Olympic Games Paris 2024. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
E-ofisi
So Sharon officing was telling me the weight drip is so expensive these days. She's now waiting for her old clothes to come back into fashion. I say, Joza, while you're waiting, why not let your money do the things in a Nedbank Just Invest account where you can get your money after 24 hours notice? Oganchani, voiceman.
In Jalo, Mabel, you can earn up to 8.75% interest. Anyone can open an investment account via the Money app in under 2 minutes. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
South Africa 26, Australia 19. The bronze medal for South Africa from Paris 2024.
Olympic medal is very, very special, and sometimes you only realize it a year or two afterwards. I'm really grateful for our players that they could call themselves Olympic medalists.
For the love of the game.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Nali Bali. A dream is a succession of images, ideas, emotions, and sensations that usually occur involuntarily in the mind during certain stages of sleep. Humans spend about 2 hours dreaming per night, and each dream lasts around 5 to 20 minutes, although the dreamer may perceive the dream as being much longer than this. Today, let's listen to a story called Mr. Chameleon's Dream, written by Melody Ngomane. But before we listen to today's story, let's all get up and
dance!
In a popular jungle, somewhere in the Mpumalanga province, Master Jack got together a new team of entertainers to thrill and excite the visitors and local people in our country. Once a year, Master Jack would hold auditions to look for new entertainers, such as dancers, singers, and even comedians. But if they were to be chosen, the animals' acts had to be very special. In fact, they had to be extraordinary. On the morning of the trials, all the animals woke up early to practice. Birdie was flying around, humming and doing voice warm-ups.
Me, 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 me. La, 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 la. La, 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 la.
The hyena triplets were harmonizing so beautifully that everyone marveled at them. The little monkey's tap dancing skills were delightful. Everyone was sure he would be chosen for the new group.
Yeah, and hey, what about you, Mr. Chameleon?
Asked Rabbit.
Are you just gonna sit around there and change your colors? You know, there's nothing really special about that.
The group laughed.
You shouldn't be here. You're just taking up space,
said Elephant, making drumming noises with his trunk. All the animals thought Mr. Chameleon's act was inferior to theirs, especially because he was old and slow. When it was finally Mr. Chameleon's turn, he was so nervous and unsure. He was just about to leave when Master Jack opened the theatre doors and invited everyone. "Come in, everybody. It's time to show me what you can do," said Mr. Jack. Mr. Chameleon was very nervous watching everyone go on stage. He was sweating and his heart was beating fast as he waited for his name to be called. When it was finally Mr. Chameleon's turn, he was so nervous and unsure of himself that he couldn't move. Just as Master Jack was about to call another animal, Mr. Chameleon stood up and said,
I'm here.
Everyone laughed as Mr. Chameleon slowly went on stage. The spotlight was on him, and the whole theater started making fun of him. He just stood there, frozen, doubting himself as he remembered all the horrible things that other animals had said to him. The whole theater buzzed with loud noises. Mr. Chameleon shyly changed from one color to the next. But most of the animals didn't think it was very special, and they started to throw vegetables and fruits at him. Master Jack asked them to be quiet. Suddenly, Mr. Chameleon saw all the chances to do something special. He knew that he had to believe in himself, and so he looked at all the fruits and vegetables and all their different colors. Then he started jumping as fast as he could from one to the other, changing colors each time. These swift movements created beautiful rainbow dances, and the faster he moved, the faster his colors changed. Mr. Chameleon's brilliant dance with its beautiful rainbow colors lit the stage, and all the animals suddenly went quiet. Master Jack's jaw dropped to the floor. This had to be the most beautiful thing ever seen. Once Mr. Chameleon was done, the theater started buzzing again, but this time it buzzed with loud clapping and whistling. Mr. Chameleon's act was surely the best. Mr. Chameleon went on to become a regular at Master Jack's show, and everyone loved him. Old as he was, Mr. Chameleon had made his dream come true, and he never ever doubted himself ever again. And so we come to the end of another Nali Bali story time. Today's story was called Mr. Chameleon's Dream, written by Melody Ngomane. Did you know that reading and telling stories to children at home can help them do better at school? If you want free stories to read to your children or for your children to enjoy on their own, visit Nali Bali website www.nalibali.org or Mobi site www.nalibali.mobi. You will find stories in 11 South African languages, as well as tips for reading and sharing stories with your children to grow their potential. Also look out for the bilingual Nali Bali Reading for Enjoyment supplements with great children's stories and activities available in newspapers. Nali Bali, it starts with a story.
Well, we begin with the latest news. A dam in Malmesbury drained after collapse, and Ramaphosa vows more procurement for women-owned businesses. Good afternoon to you. The Western Cape Environmental Affairs Minister Anton Bredell says a major dam in Riverlands near Malmesbury is being drained after two other dam walls burst yesterday, causing widespread flooding and damage to road and rail infrastructure. Hundreds of people had to be evacuated from their homes, some of whom are still to be accommodated in a municipal facility. Bredell says the main storage reservoir is currently stable and is being monitored to avoid any further risks. President Cyril Ramaphosa says he wants 40% of government's procurement to go to women-owned businesses. He was speaking at the official National Women's Day celebration at Pofadder in the Northern Cape.
Through the Women's Economic Empowerment Program, approximately 8,000 women have been trained to establish and manage their own businesses with funding from government and development finance institutions. I did say that I would like 40% of government procurement to go to women-owned and controlled businesses.
A group of residents in Bluff, south of Durban, are working on a communal food garden to share skills, feed the vulnerable and generate community well-being. Tandi Madikizela Mazongolo started the garden on municipal land in 2019. The group of gardeners quickly grew to 10. They've been struggling after criminals stole their water tank. On Women's Day today, the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, has taken part in a DA project to install another water tank, plant seedlings and fence the area off. Madikizela Masinga explains why she started the garden 5 years ago.
In this area, there was nothing but crime. I thought that if I started the garden, people would be around and that crime would stop. And I encouraged the youth to get involved so the municipality could support us, because the municipality can't fund me alone.
Women who are struggling to accept their children's disabilities have been advised on this Women's Day not to self-blame. Mutlalepule Matlolometsi established Pelang Disability Home in 2017 in Mangaung in the Free State after identifying the need for early childhood development caring for disabled children in the townships. She advises women whose children have recently been diagnosed to learn how to live with a disabled child.
For a mom, if you are not the first person to be in this situation. It's a situation which is manageable, if only if we accept the situation. Because I've realized most of the mothers, they struggle from acceptance and they blame themselves. They think it's a witchcraft. It's something that can happen to anyone. It's not only it happens to you. Be strong. Love your children, learn more about what is cerebral palsy, how to take care of your child.
As US Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris continues to surge in the polls, her campaign and that of Republican rival former President Donald Trump have agreed to debate on September 10th. ABC News has confirmed the two will face off in a televised debate hosted by the network. Sherwin Bryce Peace reports.
During an untethered, rambling press conference Thursday, Trump again changed his position, confirming he would debate Harris at least 3 times this September, one on ABC, another on Fox, and then NBC. But Harris has only committed to the ABC debate for now. This development comes after she named Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate this week.
Top story. The Western Cape Environmental Affairs Minister says a major dam in Riverlands near Malmesbury is being drained after 2 other dam walls burst yesterday. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Goes.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Witness the global battle of great athletes from South Africa and from all over the world in the Olympic Games Paris 2024. From the heart-pounding races on the track to the graceful routines on the gymnastics floor, each event promises to deliver moments of sheer brilliance and sporting excellence. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks and record-breaking performances right here across all SABC TV channels, SABC radio stations, on the move with SABC Plus or online on sabcsport.com. # the global battle of great athletes. The Olympic Games Paris 2024. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Miss South Africa 2024 finale will be live on Saturday, the 10th of August at 6 p.m. from the Sunbet Arena, Times Square, Menlyn, Maine. Good evening, Mzansi! Get your tickets for this crowning moment by going to missa.co.za, downloading the official Miss SA app, or purchasing your tickets on ticketpro.co.za. Come and witness it live. SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
South Africa 26, Australia 19. The bronze medal for South Africa from Paris 2024.
Olympic medal is very, very special, and sometimes you only realize it a year or two afterwards. I'm really grateful for our players that they could call themselves Olympic medalists.
For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
From whom must I run? ngamatshe sobashaya ngamatshe komu zombuya ninijiki jela ngamatshe sobashaya ngamatshe komu zombuya ninijiki jela ngamatshe sobashaya ngamatshe ikomo zobuya ninijiki jela komo zonse zibuye jiki jela ngamatshe jikijela ngamatshe jikijela jikijela ngamatshe wo jikijela ngamatshe sobashaya ngamatshe inkomo zobuya ninijiki jela ngamatshe sobashaya ngamatshe inkomo zonse zibuye jiki jela ngamatshe jiki jela ngamatshe jikijela jikijela ngamatshe
The police brutality that you've been seeing must come to an end.
Please must form movement. We understand and we know clearly who the enemy is.
Our futures and the futures of our children and our children's children is at stake.
Jikijela ngamatshe jikijela ngamatshe jikijela jikijela ngamatshe ngamatshe jikijela 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 ngamatshe jikijela ngamatshe
Perhaps they want us to be loud and violent to show them that you are serious about this.
Tunde Swimmers White coming through with Chigijela. Wonderful playlist. I hope you're enjoying the playlist, by the way, for this Women's Day. You know, normally on public holidays, we try to bring you double plates. But today, the joke is on me because today they decided that we're going to have a full-on show. Even our streaming crew is here. And yesterday they made me believe that they're going to be enjoying the day off. They decided to come in solidarity to be with us. It's just gone 10 past 2 o'clock on this fine Friday afternoon. We are catching up now with Mark Washburger, the Capital Hotels and Apartments CEO, and we're talking around the best countries to visit with children. I know that it's already school holidays. What is it? Is it second term, third term? I don't even know anymore. But there is a term break that just got underway a day or so ago. So that means vacation season is here, or it's approaching your family very soon, and you're planning for the holidays. And there's all kinds of things for you to take into consideration, things like transport, logistics, of course, taking the necessary time off within your own personal and professional schedule, and then just finding the perfect place. And if you are fortunate enough to be able to go out of South African borders, finding the perfect country that you can explore with children. And I can only imagine that might present a set of challenges. And so we thought we'd catch up with Mark Washburger and have this conversation. How are you doing this afternoon, Mark?
All great to you.
I'm fantastic. Thank you. Cannot complain.
Good. Happy Women's Day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I mean, firstly, let's, and I don't know if you're a family man yourself or,
I am.
You are. And so talk to me about having to plan a holiday for kids or with kids, a holiday that includes kids. Because I can only imagine that has its own unique sense of considerations and challenges that parents have to think around.
Yeah, and it depends what the age of your children are. You know, the youngest children I found when my kids were young, traveling to apartment hotels, which is what we specialize in, is something I focus on and do worldwide because, you know, kids are fussy. And you're either going to have the very expensive buffet option where it's all you can eat and the kids eat just one bowl of cereal, or you're going to go and have fancy food that isn't applicable. So in an apartment hotel, when you travel, be it local or international, you know, you just buy a bowl of cereal or some eggs, whatever it is, and make it yourself. And it's at any time, you know, kids wake up early, kids wake up late. You just got that flexibility. And I just traveled in London on that basis, and it worked incredibly well. And then, you know, as kids get older, you know, personal preferences are changing. But at the end of the day, hotels are not what they used to be. It's not about a bed. It's about an experience. And the hotels that provide experiences for kids are the ones that are most successful family destinations today.
And I think what you sort of just pointed out there speaks to the logistics around family travel, you know, having to consider things like the accommodation, what is essential and necessary for one's individual family, and things like, as well as the ground transport logistics that are then involved in carting people around. Let's talk about this, you know, the study that was conducted, showcasing the best countries to visit with children. How, firstly, what method was used behind sort of correlating this information and this data?
To be honest with you, I don't know what the inputs were to it, but the common thread and theme that keeps getting mentioned to me is, I'm sure, something that came into it, which is value for money. You know, when you're traveling with families, it's obviously expensive. Now you've got the multiplier effect. One single business traveler, generally paid for by the company, is very different from a price perspective. Then, okay, you've got a family of 5, and you're paying. And so South Africa still internationally affords probably the best value for money compared to almost anywhere internationally these days. And our products are good and our quality is good at that same level. You know, what happened in Europe and what happened in America is, with the inflation that took hold over the last 2 or 3 years, the hotel stays doubled in price. And then over that same period, the rand also weakened. So things relative to what they were 4 years ago, it's basically on a relative basis about 3 or 4 times cheaper to travel with a family to South Africa than it is in comparison to some of these international options. And then, there's still obviously a big factor from our international guests is they talk about the friendliness of the South Africans.
Yeah.
And the families and leisure travel. You're, like I said, being entertained, you're being engaged. And we're just one of the friendliest societies is the common feedback that I get worldwide. Everyone says South Africans are really just the best people.
Absolutely. And Go to Africa, who conducted this study, analyzed almost 4,000 hotels, attractions, and restaurants all over the globe. And they put together the perfect spots to visit. And some of those spots included our neighbors, the Seychelles, which, of course, is the country with the highest percentage of child-friendly hotels, attractions, and restaurants than any other country, and coming in at 29.73% of its hotels, attractions, and restaurants being child-friendly. Now, they're just next door. What are they getting correct? What are the Seychelles getting done that is correct and that speaks specifically perhaps to family travel? And where does South Africa fare in comparison? Are we doing things in a similar type of way, or perhaps we have our own unique approach as South Africa?
So South Africa, we came third in the study out of every country in the world. Seychelles, as you say, came first. So South Africa is not far off. And with the Seychelles, the main thing at the end of the day is you've got the weather that's great all year round because it's close to the equator. You still have relative value for money, even though it's obviously sometimes quite a fancy beach resort. Still relative to Mauritius has become very expensive. Relative to Europe for sure, which is, as I said, 3 times the price. Traveling internationally to some of the developed countries, generally is 3 times the price, whereas Seychelles still plays in that, call it, emerging market from a pricing perspective, and yet has some of the best beaches and has some of the best facilities and quality and I guess political stability as well. South Africa, not far off in third place. And remember, this is for family travel, right?
Yeah.
We've still got great facilities, great beaches, great weather, probably some of the best weather in the world. So, that's the common thread that I think emerged from the study.
And interestingly enough, as much as Europe has become quite expensive, particularly for travelers coming out of South Africa or even coming out of Africa and exploring the rest of the world, Italy stood out with over 80% of its hotels being well suited for children. What is it that they are doing from an accommodation perspective, which is obviously your area of focus as a business as well? What is it that they are doing from an accommodation perspective that sets them apart from anyone else?
To be honest with you, I was very surprised about Italy doing well. I recently traveled there with kids, and there wasn't much to do. I think maybe the inputs about the age of the kids, the food is obviously going to be outstanding in Italy.
Yeah.
But I was really unimpressed traveling in Europe. Europe has got a labor shortage today. The service side of Europe is very, very tough because, there's just this shortage of labor. So, you feel it from as you get off the plane. There's passport control, not enough people. People complain about South Africa from that perspective, but I can tell you as a worldwide standard, we are absolutely excellent. We've got plenty of service compared to the world today. So I'm actually was surprised about Italy.
Yeah. Do you think perhaps because also maybe where they stood out in as far as accommodation is concerned, would you say that the diversity of accommodation that's on offer, maybe the world moving more as well to sort of apartment leased type accommodation, things like Airbnb and that kind of setup is maybe what sets some places like in Italy apart or sets them at the top end of the list?
Yeah, I guess so, because at the end of the day, remember, the study is based on what is family friendly, and that means that someone built family-friendly facilities, family-friendly hotels, and, it's like one of those things, build it and then they'll come. And so obviously that has taken place in Italy, be it through the apartment hotels, or be it through the entertainment hotels, and I guess there's going to be a value for money element there. Italy is better value for money than the UK for sure, and some of the other places in Europe.
Well, when it comes to dining, I know that I've got friends who are parents, and when it comes to dining options, even in South Africa, if we are to sort of dine out as a family for entertainment and recreation, a lot of times folks struggle, especially folks with younger children, children that are 10 and below. There's no middle ground restaurants that cater for mom and dad that have that kind of adult ambiance, but still are comfortable and casual enough for younger children to have, their own sort of relaxation in the space. And I wonder how much does that kind of consideration also play in a country's ranking on a list like this?
Yeah, look, I can only talk for the capital hotels and tell you that in all of our hotels, we always make provision for that. It's a very different audience. You've got the children, who sometimes are young, sometimes who are middle-aged children, and then the parents, and they eat quite differently, and they behave quite differently within the restaurants. So what we try and do is we try and cater a lot of buffets. It provides that flexibility around food. You don't have the fussiness and issues on finding something to eat. And then obviously we have our Funverse and our the children's clubs at our facilities to make sure that they can also run off and not be held at the table, and kids just don't have that same kind of attention span, particularly the young kids. So I think that a lot of the family facilities around South Africa, they get caught in the middle of, are they going to be really catering for young kids, or are they going to be catering for parents? And they battle. Maybe they just don't have the scale to, like hotels do, to put those two together.
And interestingly, London ranked quite high in as far as catering for children. And this survey is saying that over 6,000, there's over 6,000 child-friendly restaurants in London. And you've traveled extensively. What has been your experience in the UK, London specifically?
We had the most wonderful trip recently there. We were in London in summer. And in summer, it's one of the best cities in the world. But London in winter with kids is tough. It's raining, it's cold, jackets on, jackets off. So I'm surprised they did well, but the indoor facilities are obviously excellent. But then the other thing that would have marked London and the UK down is it's literally food. If you just talk about food, like for like, 4 times the price. The value for money, again, in South Africa, is just absolutely off the charts. Even though we've had our own inflation and food's gone up a lot relative to a lot of these international locations, and in particular London, it's, again, huge facilities obviously just got built there, but it doesn't mean it's good value for money at all.
Yeah. Do rankings like this sort of sway or make any kind of difference, sway families and those planning vacations one way or another? Do people even take them into consideration when it comes to planning their next destination?
Where it does have an impact is today when you do search through Google or even through ChatGPT or any of the other large language AI models, it's taking that data and it's recommending it. So all of a sudden, when you say, where should I go on my next family vacation, South Africa is popping up as a destination. The Seychelles is, and Italy is, as you said, because, that top 3 comes into play. So it has some benefit, but, to a large extent, there's so much media out there that it's rather still the word of mouth of the good experience that people have. The feedback we get in our hotels from all international people is they say, wow, I actually can't believe it. come for either a safari. We've gone to Cape Town. The people, we've gone to the hotel on the KZN coast. The people are so amazing. I wish I had known, and I'm going to tell all my friends. And that's word of mouth when it comes to leisure, family, holidays is still the best, better than any Google or any other media outlet.
Yeah. Mark, we appreciate the time with you. That was Mark Washberger, who is the Capital Hotels and Apartments CEO. So when you're planning your next vacation with your kids, maybe you are planning for the end of the year. Okay, end of the year is a bad time, I think, to travel for any South African, as I said it, unless you're in the upper earnings brackets and you're not affected by things like the exchange rate and et cetera, because everything gets, just compounded. December time, the rest of the world just is unreasonably priced for travel, unless you're going to places like Thailand. I've recently just found out, by the way, Thailand makes for an interesting family destination. I always say to people that I feel as if Thailand gives you whatever you want. So if you've watched The Hangover and that's what you require, you shall get that in Thailand. If you're a family and you're traveling with kids, little kids, older kids, it's also great because you can go to the resorts that are sort of off the main cities, all inclusive, lots of water sports, lots of adventures in and out of islands. If you're looking for a romantic destination, a honeymoon destination, it can give you that. It's quite the all-rounder destination, in my opinion, having traveled there. And it's also easy on the rand, which is nice because the Thai baht works in our favor. But I've also just had recent conversations from a few people. Trevor Noah and Anele and some of their friends did that whole trip for her birthday a few months ago, and they went to Japan. And upon coming back, I inquired, how was Japan? How was it as a destination? I've always wanted to go. It's on my bucket list of places to go from a cultural perspective. It's so rich and robust in culture. And there's also a lot of similarities between Japan and African societies and how those are constructed. Lots of shared values. So I think we'd feel right at home as Africans in Japan, as much as it is unfamiliar in so many ways as well. And then, interestingly, I heard from that group, and I heard from another avid traveler who oftentimes will dip into my radio shows as well, Swoom Kwanazi, that Japan is actually quite affordable at the moment for South Africans. Really reasonable for South Africans at the moment. Caveat being, unless you're wanting to explore the upper echelons of Japan and have that 5-star experience, that really exclusive experience. But if you're just going to do good old normal Japan, apparently this is the time to go. So it's been moved up my bucket list of countries to go to ASAP. I've always had the perception, and it was never based on any data or any research, that it was expensive. It was just my perception, maybe fueled also by understanding the consumerism culture in Japan, especially the luxury consumerism that happens in Japan. It's something to behold, I tell you, but it's definitely moved up my bucket list. So if you are thinking of holidays for yourself and your kids that go to Africa, a study is out, and there's countries like Samoa, Costa Rica, New Zealand, which I think could be a bit far to get to. Italy, Belize, London are on the list, and of course South Africa and Seychelles also topping that list at number 1 and 3 as places to go with your family. It's just gone 2:30. Let's get into a song and then we'll come back and continue the show. We still have Luan Lunkulu. Hopefully the network does not disappoint us, and we're going to have that conversation.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday.
SAFM, playing the music you want to hear.
Why do you have to be a victim all the time? Why are you stuck in the past?
Yeah, I'm stuck in the past because that's where I lost myself. Imagine 400 years of oppression. I've lost my manhood, my home, my mind. That's why I have to fix the past so I can create my future.
Watch The Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's The Tastemaster Junior, Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN 8 quarter-final. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Watinda Bafaz. Watinda Bokocho.
SA Women's Struggles Journal. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development. On this Women's Day, SAFM celebrates the incredible strength, wisdom, and achievements of women everywhere. To all the amazing women, thank you for your endless contributions and inspiration. Happy Women's Day. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak, and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
Alan Hatherley of South Africa, as he steps up to receive the bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. He is the first South African medal in cycling since 1912. Rudolf Lewis won the individual time trial. Congratulations, Alan Hatherley, your country is proud of you.
For the love of the game.
The Miss South Africa 2024 finale will be live on Saturday, the 10th of August at 6 p.m. from the Sunbet Arena, Times Square, Menlyn, Maine. Good evening, Mzansi! Get your tickets for this crowning moment by going to misssa.co.za, downloading the official Miss SA app, or purchasing your tickets on ticketpro.co.za. Come and witness it live.
Stages, pages, screens, and more with Bridget Masinga.
All right, as we get into the second half of the show, the second half of this hour, and we are chatting to award-winning actor, writer, and director and theatre maker and performance artist, Ukondiswa James joins us now. And we are into stages, pages, screens, and more. There's a lot of moving parts today. A lot of moving parts. Stages, pages, screens, and more.
Stages, pages, screens, and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
It is The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. And joining me in studio is award-winning actor, director, and theatre maker, Ukondiswa James. There's so many moving parts. If we are streaming, you are definitely catching us. You are definitely catching us in the middle of so many things. So many things. Ukondiswa, how are you? I apologize. There's so much happening today.
I'm actually happy to be here. I feel like I'm a part of it. I feel part of the energy somehow. It's great.
Oh my God. Listen, we are having, normally on Fridays, it's siyakekeleza. But today, because we had the orchestra and they had to come in and then we had to swing cameras. So it was a whole situation.
And they're a band, hey? They're like a couple of them.
A full-on band. And even now I'm looking at you through the tiniest little window screen. Are you good, though?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming through. We appreciate it. Tell us about the song that we just heard.
I'd love to.
Yes.
So I've got this collaborator. His name is Yanu Okama. He works out of Cape Town, and I've been working with him for like years. So when I first was dreaming of Amaxeleku and the Market Theatre told me they were interested in producing it, I just knew that the kind of story that it was fit very well with his language of composition. And it's as well as beats, as well as one of the characters in the show. So it's the sound that introduces him, it's the sound that becomes his motif.
Yeah.
But what I also really love about the song is the political intentionality and who we hear in the song talking about the lives of black folk in the country and stomach politics and how we take hold of our own lives is Ulindo Kuhle, who was an Abahlali Basem Jondolo comrade who was killed in 2022. So it becomes this really interesting fusion of like a jazz mix, right? Which has got a little bit of romance or sensuality, at least for me, but then layered on top is this quite like visceral, straightforward political message, which is kind of the play as well. This balance between the politics that the play wants to deal with and also just the romance and just the fact of life and connection.
Right.
So that composition is Yanu Okama. He's an amazing composer. If anyone is listening, guys, Yanu Okama from Cape Town, hit him up.
Well, listen, one thing is undeniable, that when it comes to your work, obviously there's a huge enthusiasm for it, but also everything from what you hear, from what I'm sort of hearing you say, there's a consciousness and a deliberate focus on the kind of themes that you explore and probably the reasoning why you decide to focus on certain things.
So the story itself came out of an experience that I had at the tail end of the student movement. So 2017, 2018. And I was quite involved politically. And in the middle of all that mess, I met somebody who seemed like a political mentor as well at that particular time, at least the kind of activism that I was interested in and getting into. And simultaneously, in the activist space, in the queer space, so I just moved to Joburg last year, but I was in Cape Town for a very long time. And in those spaces, academic spaces, etc., people started to explore polyamory. And I'd been polyamorous for a while, but suddenly now it's in our political space and it's something that we're thinking about when we're thinking about how to love each other, how to be with each other. And I meet this person who blows my mind, and also he's got this political sensibility. I feel like, wow, this person is going to teach me things. And then in the relation, I won't say relationship, situationship, in the situation, I come across then not just our political encounter and the places that he's inviting me to in terms of like activist spaces, but I have to consider myself and us in the context of Black love and our humanity, and sometimes the way that we treat each other, and sometimes the way that we make room for each other. My actress was asking me, like, at the core of this, her name's Shalima Mkongi, she was asking me, what do you think is at the core of this? And I said, for me, and also in relation to all politics, at least when I think through politics, it's about being human with each other. So that for me is the central exploration, the central thematic. How do we become more human with each other? How do we make room for others to show us their humanity and to develop together in humanity? How do we find safer spaces and allow ourselves to be vulnerable to allow people to witness us becoming more human? And this is definitely on the level of love, but also on the level of family, on the level of nation, on the level of being together in community. So these are the things that are really important to me. I'm always interested in politics, but always taking a case study, humanity, something quite specific, something quite domestic, people falling in love, and then extrapolating that and seeing what can it tell us about blackness, what can it tell us about gender, how can we use this to talk about class.
And I think, from what I sort of hear and the way I am understanding also, it's the sort of the breaking down of themes that might overwhelm, because when people talk about the sense of belonging. It can get academic, and the sense of being, it can get academic. But here you are compartmentalizing it within lived experiences of identity, of love, of relation, of things that really just take it down to the fundamentals of human interaction.
Exactly. And for me, the thing is important. It's not like I don't value the academic space and the theoretical space. I actually am also in that space. And if people come and see the play, you'll see that there's quite a lot of that intellectual sparring between these two people who are both, very smart and enjoy, showcasing it to each other, peacocking to each other. And just that sparring, when you meet someone that you feel can be your intellectual equal. So there's definitely that. And we definitely explore concepts, philosophical concepts, and we explore them fully. We talk about the origins of the universe, one part of the origins of the universe. We talk about class struggle and Marxism and anarcho-communism. So there's definitely that, but that's at, say, the highest point of the political conversation. And then there's the poetics of it as well, which, yes, the words are saying something and you can listen to the words, but sometimes it's about a cadence. Sometimes it's about finding a word that connects with you, that makes you feel something in considering poetics. And then there's definitely the language. I've been saying to them, you can casualize more, right? Which is just the everyday speak, the things we speak about when we're chilling at the bar, having drinks with our friends, and we're talking about, Yazi, somebody messed me up just now, right? Are these the things that are happening in your guys' relationships? Should we do something? Is this a feminist issue? Things like that. But speaking about that quite relationally, like, there was a person this time that did this thing, as opposed to that intellectual academic speak. But it's there. It's all there. And I hope that it's married in such a way that people can follow it and that people can lean into it, not just follow it, but like really open themselves to the interrogation that is happening and hopefully take it out beyond and continue the conversations in their private spaces as well.
Absolutely. Listen, if you're wondering who is this impassioned person today?
So impassioned.
It is Kondiswa James, and she's Kondiswa, I didn't even ask in terms of gender identities. I'm just going with feminine today. My apologies.
She or they is fine,
she
don't
or they.
worry.
An award-winning actor, writer, director, theatre maker, and of course a performance artist, as you can tell from the voice. Because there was so much happening in our first 5 minutes that I feel as if I'm catching up to our conversation. Amaxaleko, when you speak about, words, for instance, it's a word that I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with. Unpack it for us.
Sure. So amaxaleko is a Xhosa word, and it's a Xhosa word that's kind of difficult to directly translate. If I try to explain it, I would say something like, when somebody says you're filthy, like you live like a pig. Kind of a thing. So that's what it is. The idea of being filthy, of being messy. And the translation that we've chosen is messy people.
Like Uinugu. The Zulu
word. It's that very rough one.
Yes.
When you're saying that thing. Filthy, dirty. You don't know how to clean up after yourself. It's something that my mother and my grandmother and when I was growing up would say to me. So it's something that's stuck. And especially then, because one of the things that the play discusses is the politics of middle classness and having people come into our space to clean for us and those relationships and that humanity. So it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. Ubize umntu, to the point where you pay somebody to come and clean for you, type of thing. So that's one of the aspects of the filth, of the mess. But the second aspect is about the entanglements and the relationships.
Yes.
And I mean, we've touched a little about the fact that the story is about a polyamorous couple, a short-lived relationship of a polyamorous couple. But speaking through those entanglements and the mess. I mean, polyamory is a mess, definitely, but also monogamy is a mess. Us trying to love each other, us trying to be with each other, us trying to be honest with each other. Sometimes we can't. And some of the questions that I'm trying to ask is that, is there something about the shared language that we have cultivated as South Africans? And I am Black and I move in particular spaces.
Yeah.
So I will be specific as Black South Africans, right? And when we think about our homes, the language that we use to talk to each other in love, the practices, right, of cheating, infidelity, all of that stuff,
Yeah.
the lying, all of that stuff. So the mess and the way that we hurt each other, and that hurt is also messy. And it was important also that the title was isiXhosa for me, because the play is multilingual.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of isiXhosa, but there's a lot of English, and it's primarily English. So there's definitely a way in for vernacular speakers and also English speakers. But it just felt really appropriate because there's something about there's 3 characters in this work. The boy and the girl who are dating, or hey, I said situationship, no? Who are seeing each other. And then there's the mother on the peripheries who cleans up after them, but also sometimes joins them.
Yeah.
And I think to locate the story specifically in a context of Xhosa people, it happened in Cape Town. So it's a Xhosa space. And it happened also in Xhosa. And I actually remember when I was seeing this person and I was confused about a lot of things because it was, you'll forgive me for being middle class, but it was one of the first times that I was dating in a working class community and traveling to the township to go see somebody. And there were a lot of codes that I did not understand.
Yes.
And I'd go back to my friends and say, this thing happened, I don't understand. And they say, you need to date Xhosa, Chomi. Jola Xhosa.
Code switch.
Exactly, because these are the things that you're not understanding. So the language is also a very, very important thing. But hopefully it's not alienating. But there's also something quite titillating about it because the people who understand it, like, it's quite a strong, visceral thing that you can have a reaction to. But the illusions of just mess and the mess we make of love.
I mean, you know, from listening to you now, it's sort of connecting to a conversation we had in the first hour of the show when we were talking to Eben about the Penduring Awards, which celebrates and honors Indigenous languages, practiced through content and publishing, etc., etc. And the campaign that Joe Public has put out this year is Say It in Your Language. And it speaks to the essence of what you're saying, right? The importance of articulating your experience and your characters in a language that not only anchors the story, but also in a language that I can understand. But even I'm not a Xhosa speaker, but I can understand the Black experience in Xhosa.
That's it for
because
me.
it mirrors the Black existence in Zulu, in Setswana, in.
That's it for me. And also it's a thing that I definitely do, and I'm leaning more into writing in the vernacular. And to say, this is credible. This is credible. I don't need to write in English in order to find a stage, in order to find an audience. In fact, Black folk are the audience. We are the majority in this country, right? Black, brown folk. And we are an audience. And perhaps sometimes we don't spend enough time as makers cultivating an audience from home, from our communities, right? We get very comfortable with the middle class audience, which is black and white and color, all of these different things, right? But there's a place where we're from. And is it important to us that our mother understands the kinds of stories we are trying to tell, you know? And that's what it becomes to me, for me. If I go back home, and I tell the story, I'm from Qumbu, a village in the Transkei, you know? If I go back home, how do I not alienate people? How do I invite people in, right? And how do I assert, even in the spaces where it's a bit like, oh, that's what you do, that yes, Xhosa, wakwaXhosa, and my lived experience is ngesXhosa. And also ngesingesi because of, apartheid, capitalism, whatever. But that it's a very important thing.
Yeah. Let's take a quick pause here. We'll come back and maybe we'll explore a little bit further this theme of language. And of course, because now when you say this, it touches back to the other conversation I was reflecting on earlier. Who knew we'd have a Friday show today that's centered around language and how we weave and move through it?
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
I am hanging out for full access with Kondiswa James. Kondiswa is an award-winning actor, writer, director. And of course, there is a play that is... by the way, where's the play, Amaxoleko? Where's it going to be staged?
The play's going to be staged at Market Theatre at the Barney Simon, and it's going to open next week, Friday the 9th. We have previews on the 7th and the 8th of August, and we run until the 25th of August. I think that there are no shows on Monday Monday and Tuesdays, but there's afternoon shows on Saturdays and Sundays in case, There's definitely an age restriction. So bring your kids if they're over the age of 16. Yeah, there's some SNL. When I saw the poster as well, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks titillating.
It's provocative.
It's very, very provocative. But yeah, it's the Market Theatre, and we're rehearsing at the Market Theatre currently. And I don't think I mentioned this as well, but our actors are Shalima Mkongi, Luxolo Ndabeni, and Unambita Mpumlwana, who a lot of people know from Generations and all kinds of things. And these are people actually who haven't Umam Nambita was just recently in Winnie, but the other two haven't done theatre for quite a while. So it's really interesting to explore with people who are not familiar anymore, because everyone studied through theatre, right? Yeah. But it's been really, really great, and especially this week, and we're generating, and it's feeling good, and the work is settling. There's also like a huge AV component, technical component, because one of the things about the work is Utabisa, the main character. So she's polyamorous and she has a lot of relationships. And one of the fixes I felt, because I was told when I was developing the play, if she's having a lot of relationships, we need to experience it somehow.
Yes.
And then the conversation was, how does she have these relationships? Oh, okay, well, she has them online. She meets people on Bumble. She takes people on WhatsApp. She calls people on iMessage, blah, 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 on Facebook, all these kinds of things. And then I started to think about how the social media world and tech and the digital space impresses itself upon us in our real lives. It's an extension of us in a way.
And that is how we wrap up the show today. Of course, that was not the voice of Luan Dlunkulu. I did precurse by saying that we were having network problems with Lua. So we went and just did a recap on a Stages, Pages, Screens and More conversation that we had earlier in the week. And we were talking around Amatlegu, which is a play that is currently being staged. You can double back to our podcast for the finer details as to the showing and all the necessary scheduling for that piece. From myself and my team, we thank you so much for choosing to honor us on this Women's Day and spend your Friday afternoon with us. If you are heading out and going to enjoy your holiday, have an incredible long weekend. Eva Chipa, happy Women's Day to you, and thank you for holding down the fort in the news desk. Inshallah, we do it again next week.
Ramaphosa addresses Women's Day event and dam in Malmesbury drained after collapse. Good afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa has lamented the conditions under which many South African women live. The president acknowledged that much more needs to be done to advance women in the country. He was speaking on Women's Day, which commemorates the 1956 march by 20,000 women against apartheid's pass laws. Ramaphosa addressed the official commemoration at Pofadder in the Northern Cape.
When you want to understand poverty in South Africa, you just need to look at the face of a black woman, of a colored woman. Black women are more likely to be unemployed, to be poor, and to be unskilled. Cultural norms and practices continue to hold our women back. Many women in our country still do not have their homes, still do not have places where they can bring up their children. Many women in our country still live in shacks, and this is what we must correct.
Gauteng Department of Arts and Culture says it believes that government is progressing in improving women's emancipation. This emerged during the government's provincial Women's Day celebrations at the Union Buildings in Swane. The celebration this year is being held under the theme Celebrating 30 Years of Democracy Towards Women's Development, to pay tribute to those women who marched in protest against apartheid. The Gauteng Arts and Culture MEC Matomi Chilwani.
Today we're here to celebrate a milestone honoring the women of 1956. This is Women's Day. It's an annual celebration where we recognize the path that we have taken as a country since our democratic breakthrough. And I must say, as a nation, we've achieved a lot in the emancipation of our mothers, sisters, women. We have gone far. We have continued to demonstrate as a country as one of the top nations that moves towards the core improvement of women emancipation. And we have done well. I know that as government, we've always been consistent.
The Western Cape Environmental Affairs Minister Anton Bredell says a major dam in Riverlands near Malmesbury is being drained after 2 other dam walls burst yesterday, causing widespread flooding and damage to road and rail infrastructure. Hundreds of people had to be evacuated from their homes. Bredell says the main storage reservoir is currently stable and is being monitored to avoid further risks. Water and power supply has been affected. Legal analyst Inez Bezuidenhout says the Free State High Court considered factors such as not prejudicing the state or the accused after the judge struck off the roll the 280 million rand Astina dairy farm corruption case on Wednesday. The accused include former MEC Mosebenze Zwane, as well as Gupta Associates and linked companies. The lawyers of the accused had argued in court that the matter be struck off the roll, citing high costs the accused have to pay each time they appear in court. Bezuidenhout elaborates.
The court takes into account all the relevant factors to the situation. One would expect, however, that in this instance, that one can maybe say when the fact that the accused hasn't pleaded yet means that the matter can be reinstated de novo. In other words, just because the matter was struck off the roll doesn't mean that the accused is entitled to a verdict of acquittal or should be regarded as innocent in this instance. So the state can bring the matter again to court. It is not a permanent stay of prosecution when the court orders that the matter be struck off the roll in terms of Section 342 Big A.
A Supreme Court judge in Spain has demanded that the Catalan police and the Interior Ministry